All right. Looks like it's hidden. You're live. Aloha, everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. I'm here again with John Jay of Ace of Coins, and he's got some stuff to share that I'm really interested about because, John, when you first, thank you so much for joining. When you were talking about the and FinCEN, I don't know, but then I looked it up because I don't know what that is. Fitness trainer. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be good. So this is actually, I'll just let you probably explain it better than I can. And John is he's with aceof.com. That's going to be in the description, and I'll also put it in the chat in a moment. And if you guys have any IRS questions and tax questions, this is the guy to talk to. He has been a 30-year financial risks expert and really helping people get out of the system, know their rights from the with the IRS. And John, thanks so much for all you do. But you want to share with us what it is that we're talking about? You have something new with the FIN.
It's more clear on the folder. Just take note. Well, I have someone visiting here that a vision, and I was just going to talk with you about it. I still owe you your nibbler. Got your nibbler. I've got your nibbler. The nibbling away at me on my list to do to bring it back. And I'm in touch with, Clint lives here. He says he's on his list to go up and fix your excavator.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's broken, huh? Has it always been broken?
That's the biggest thing too, is not complying with everything.
That's typical. I saw what you did over at Roger and Cher's place. That was filling it up.
Afraid, and I'm still going to tell you, you don't need me to do that. I will do it if you want me to.
Okay, so somebody said that they can't hear you. So okay, there you go. I forgot that this guy doesn't work on Zoom, on YouTube, on live. So John, I'm sorry to say, would you say that one more time? Plus, this is pretty amazing what you're sharing with everybody.
Well, the FinCEN Regs Financial Crimes Network is administered by the IRS. Financial Crimes Network collects information, and it does so really under Title 18, the criminal statutes. So there's a presumption of they're involved in stopping crimes, preventing crimes, okay? And what they want to do is every person who wants to use an LLC for something all of a sudden is now a risk to national security, and they want that person's identifying information, the same information you're going to give to your bank as the signer. They want your date of birth, SSN, name, address, all this stuff. Well, why can't they just get it from the bank? Well, the bank won't give it to them. Why can't they get it from the IRS? The IRS won't give it to them. So why would they require you to give it to them? They don't. They make it look like you're required. If you look at all the articles right now and all the videos on YouTube with all these lawyers talking about you better comply or else it's the end of the world, and all these huge penalties, right? $10,000 fine if you don't comply. Well, I did a video for about an hour and I explained that you're not required to comply. There's no legal duty to participate in these disclosures. And to put my money where my mouth is, I told everybody I will do a contract with your company as a corporate compliance officer, being solely liable for your company. You will be off the hook completely. I'll make myself the corporate organizer, which for years I've never done that. And I'll be the compliance officer. That's how confident I am that their regs are completely a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, this is all about fear, you guys. And I know that my YouTube people are saying they can't see you, so I'm gonna fix that in a second, because I think what it is I'm gonna stop this share and I'm gonna go to the other share on the YouTube channel, and then people will be able to see you as well. But it's always about complying, because they want us afraid. They want us just to believe what they're saying, like with the mandates. I was just on another interview with Margie and Jack Flynn, who were sharing about how to do affidavits and how to literally make our government leaders accountable for their actions. And the only people who can do that is we, the people. And the only people who can stop this madness is we, the people, by not complying. And I remember going to Ace Hardware store, and this friend's like, "You have to wear a mask." I said, "That's not a law. That is a mandate. A mandate is a suggestion. The legislative body did not get together to create a law in stating that this was a law." So he looked at me with his eyes wide open, because he literally said it was the law. And I said, "No, it's not." So this is all about,
I've had that conversation many times.
Yes, not complying. Yeah. So
right.
John, what else do you want to share about that? And I'm going to figure out how to get this so that people can see you.
Well, I'm going to set up a company in January, Tuesday or Monday, and I'm going to register a company and do what I said and see what they do. But at the same time, I don't have a problem representing any of y'all, and I'll take on the liability. I am literally liable if I sign a contract with you as your corporate compliance officer. You are not liable. So
that's amazing. So if you guys are having any issues with the Fin coming after you, contact John, aceofcoins.com, I think it is.
I've never done this, by the way.
Okay.
I've never done that, but I know I'll do it. I'm completely capable of doing that.
Let me do this and go here. I'm gonna do it this way because my screen is like, let's see if you guys can see it now. Launching meeting here. So hold on one second while I open this up and see if you can see John now. Open in Zoom. All right, can you guys see John? The people who are on YouTube Live? Let's see here. Still novice about this live stream thing. Okay. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. So let's talk about, okay, no. So I'm going to keep working on this. John, what else would you like to share about what is happening with the financial system right now? Because I know a lot of people are scared and kind of uncertain about the economy and what's happening with the U.S. dollar. So what can you share about that while I see if I can
more of the same. The trend, go back in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's more of the same. And technology is being introduced to our use of money. It's nothing new. The dollar's been collapsing. It's not going to collapse at a particular date. It's been collapsing. Watch. Just go look ground beef, okay, and gasoline, fuel and beef, right? Beef and butter. Look at the prices. Stop watching the news and talking about CPIs and all this stuff. As far as the economy goes, that's a fiction. That's like using an average number for a big database of numbers. It doesn't mean anything. What is the economy? It doesn't mean anything, because there's so many pockets of the economy. There's thousands of economic activity, thousands of areas of economic activity. I could talk to different people. I talk to people all day long in many different states, and some are doing great with money and some are struggling. Everybody's different. Mm-hmm. There isn't one economy. So don't let that be an excuse to prevent you from doing anything. But it's the same old thing, okay, guys? Look, the debt system is always going to be here. It's necessary, I hate to say. You just have to understand what it is. And how do the rich people deal with it? Well, they create it. They love it. They thrive in it. Well, what are they doing? Buying assets. They're using debt to buy assets. You're using debt to buy liabilities because you're taught to do that. That's all I'm going to suggest, is that you just change the way you think about things. I was talking to somebody today, and I was explaining. So they had a bit of some cash, and they were talking about, what do we do with this cash? And I said, well, they wanted to pay off the IRS. And I said, don't pay off the IRS. Once you pay off the IRS, what is that going to do? They're going to do more sinister things, right? Mm-hmm. With your money. Why not take, even if you owe the IRS, why not take that money and go buy some assets, right? And make the IRS wait.
And then I started talking about the possibility of maybe getting into some real estate. And the first question was, what about the interest rate on the loans? I said, so what? It's a cost of doing business. don't be crazy about it. But that is not your deciding factor as to whether or not you're going to buy real estate. It's an investment. Yeah, if I'm buying a house, yeah, I want the lowest rate. If I have good credit, I earned up my lowest rate, right? But if I'm going to buy a duplex or a multifamily and I'm going to lease it out, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
The interest rate has to factor into the deal. So your standard is not getting the lowest interest rate. Your standard in buying an investment is if another investor would think it's a good deal. That's the best standard. So you're doing a good job then, because when am I going to get my money back? What's the return on capital, right? Am I going to get it back in 3 years or whatever, rule of 72, that sort of thing. So the reason why I mention those things, it seems unrelated to the economy and economic problems, but this is how you solve them. This is how you prevent them, is you make more money with assets. And the rule would be, let's set a goal, right? You guys want to have a New Year's resolution? How about this? Figure out how to come up with enough money to pay your bills that you have through all of next year. Figure out how to pay them by, let's say I said June last time.
Yeah, that's right.
By June 30th, you should have all the money you need to pay all your bills. You don't need any more new money. Okay. So if you've done that, how much you want to bet that in a short period of time, you just might have twice as much money every year than you need to live? What could you do with that? Everybody can do that.
That would be a good plan, you guys. That would be a good plan to have. So when you're looking, what is one of the biggest challenges that somebody comes to you for?
It's usually tax debt. It's IRS planning. They want to buy assets or invest in cryptos or in something related to that, and they want to move the money around and not have a tax liability. And they want to get out of the confusion created by their accountant. I talked to someone yesterday, and he said his accountant said, "Well, if you didn't sell the coins, it's off the grid. We don't care." Brilliant. I wish more accountants would understand that. There's nothing I can say to that. We need more of those guys. But anyways, yeah, most people come and they want to talk about tax debt, and I just look at it like this: it's just another financial risk. Nothing special. How do you plan for it? Understand where the liability is. That's the same thing in every situation. What is your liability? A lot of people will call me and say, "Hey, John, I like your PMA LLC. Yeah, it sounds great." And I say, "Okay, well, what are you trying to do with it?" "Well, I don't know. It just sounds cool." "Okay, but are you trying to manage cash flow or business and investment?" And that's when we start talking about what would be the best structure to use for a situation.
You know, it's so interesting because this stuff is not taught in schools at all. Unless you really want to learn this, you will not learn this. And that's by design as well. They don't want people, they want people ignorant, so that when they say things and they say this is a mandate and you have to do this, now you're going to do it because you're afraid. And so what I love what you're doing is you're giving people freedom, and you're helping people understand what's the truth about their rights, their God-given rights that wasn't given to them by the government. So it was given to them by God.
You have to fight for your rights every day. You have to figure out what they are and know how to go about it. And yeah, you don't always know everything. I don't know everything. I have to look it up. But I'll just give an example. My son is 20, and I set him up with a bank account a couple of years ago with a corporation, and he's becoming an entrepreneur reluctantly, and the other day he's talking with my wife, and they're both working on a project I set him up with. In fact, it's morphed into something now he's doing, and I don't even know what it is. But it's his project to make money. He wants to move out, right? He wants to go get a car, and so he's gonna have to figure that out. And I'm listening to, he spent too much money on somebody who was promising marketing, SEO, whatever. He didn't deliver, so he had to work through that. I never said a word. I just heard the conversation, and he's going through it. And then his website managed to sell some items, and he didn't have a supplier lined up. And so now he's trying to figure out how to quickly get the item so the person doesn't want to refund or whatever. So these are the things you learn. He's just a baby. He's just barely just getting started, okay? But he has to go through that. I'm not going to fix it for him. I'm not going to tell him about it. In fact, I didn't tell him when I set him up with a corporate account, I didn't tell him that it was going to cost $15 a month. He'd have to figure out how to pay for it. So now he's learning all that stuff, but you have to go through and do it. You have to experience it. You're not going to learn anywhere else. And yeah, you're not taught in school. It's on you to try and do it, because that's the only way to learn. Accept that you might lose some money. It's perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you don't.
So what is the because what we talked about last time, which I loved, was you were saying that the IRS knows how much you owe because you are the one that sends them that information. So
Yeah, you create the liability.
you create the liability. So when go ahead.
If you to get admission from someone is better than accusing them of something and then getting evidence to prove it. If he'll just admit it, your job is done. So the IRS tricks you into filing a tax return and claiming that you have taxable income. And once you do that under penalty of perjury, they're not going to argue with you and they're not going to make an assessment. The assessment is the liability. You're assessing yourself. That's what a 1040 is.
So, but if somebody just stops paying and just stops filing, so that's because.
Okay, so now we're dealing with software. You're not dealing with an actual law. So it's a practice now. So there's an accounting ledger at the IRS known as the individual master file, business master file, and it tracks reports made like your W-2 and your 1099, okay? If you get a 1099, it gets posted to the business master file. That's fine. The IRS doesn't do anything for that. It doesn't care about the 1099. But if you file a tax return, it then has a duty to reconcile that tax return with the 1099 or the W-2 and make sure it matches correctly. That's its job. It's just a machine. So if you've always filed a 1040 and then you stop filing a 1040, but you're still getting income reports, the IRS will want it's cut. They're going to want in the W-2. That's where people think you're required to file a 1040 because the government's saying you have to file because you filed previously. I've got people that are not my clients. I could tell you there's 7 of them. I don't have them as anything. I talked to them once each on the phone, and I confirmed that they had never filed a 1040. And their concern was that they were getting W-2s and 1099s. And I said, as long as you never file a 1040, stay away from the IRS. They'll never contact you. They don't care about you. You can make millions of dollars, get 1099s in your name with an SSN, and still never have a problem, and they never have. Never called me back. It's when you file a return that creates a presumption that you have to keep on filing. So to get out of that, you have to stop getting the reports. That means you can't be a wage earner.
So that means you can't get 1099.
You cannot get a 1099 either. If you get a 1099, those are easy to move into a company. That's easy to fix. But W-2s, you can't get them out of your name. So you cannot be a wage earner. But if you're getting 1099s in your name, you simply set those up in a company. And then so that way, like for myself, I don't have anything that's reported in my name, and I've not filed since 1993. I think I filed 9 returns. So I've never had a problem with them.
Oh, I get it. Wow, that is so interesting. Okay, well, you guys were on live, so if you have any questions, if you have any tax questions, bring them on over. And one thing about what's happening with the government is I feel like we're in this closing box because they keep making these laws and these rules and these executive orders. And what's happening with the FIN, you were just talking about, like, what do you see coming? What do you see coming for this next year?
Okay, what I see coming is to access money and thereby access resources that we normally do, like go grocery shopping, okay? Or to access money and use money for anything in society is going to require the use of your biometric data. This is the biblical mark of the beast. It's not a number necessarily. It is using your so it's an immutable identifier of you. And in that sense, what can be done then is because the money can be programmed once they start incorporating the cryptographic currency, right? The blockchain with the dollar. Once that comes into being, then you could be removed from your ability to use money. Your money can be taxed on a real-time basis. Imagine that. See, right now it's a step function. The tax system is a step function, like the post office, postal stamp. It's a batch process. Okay, so it takes a period of time before an accrual of an obligation or a tax liability or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, imagine if the dollar that's being taxed is on the blockchain and it's connected to your immutable identifier, which is maybe your retinal scan or facial image, whatever. Imagine you could be taxed on a real-time basis. Not only you can be taxed, but your phone can be taxed. Your phone can actually be subject to a special kind of tax that they can make up anything they want, like the environment, some garbage like that, right? How about taxing your pet?
Oh my gosh.
How about taxing your refrigerator or your pool for its use of energy, right? How about excluding you from being able to purchase certain products?
Yeah, that's what I've heard is coming. Yeah, it is.
I'm thinking that's coming. So So you want to look around and see what's possibly available to you for the basic necessities of food, right? Sustenance. At least start there. How can I get food? Right now, I talked to a couple of farmers, and I know that I can. I mean, probably a lot of people will be thinking this way. I can buy, half a cow, right, and store it. But then I can do that now easily. But what happens when, a lot of other people figure that out, or there's going to be a big need for that? So just realize you're gonna want to have access to resources. And people talk about the censorship on the internet, but they're not talking about that the censorship is only being used on like the top 3% of the internet, the 3% of the internet that we all use. They're not talking about the dark web. We need to be using the dark web. We have the technology, we're just not using it.
How do we use it? I've never even thought about it.
On the dark web, you need an encrypted browser like the Tor browser, and I would use an operating system. What I've done in the past, just as an experiment, is I took a USB and I installed an operating system. It was Tails. It was called Tails, and I changed my boot sequence on my computer, and I just put the USB in there and boot up the computer, and it boots up to an entirely different computer. It's on the dark web, and I can go on the dark web and do things. And all the URLs are .onion. They're not .com. They're .onion, and they don't have a central they don't have a Google search on the dark web, but you can find what you want.
And then they can't see what you're looking at and what you're doing.
Nobody can really track you. It's very difficult to track you, even if you don't know what you're doing. The problem is, you want to separate your access to the dark web from your regular use of the computer because of how your data is set up right now. For most people, you're very vulnerable to someone who's waiting for a newbie to come on the dark web. They can see when it's a newbie. They can't see who it is, but they can see. So just be aware of that. But that's why I say, check out a way to get on the dark web with a separate device. I like to use a USB with its own operating system. But you should at least start exploring it. It's not for criminals. I mean, it's not about criminals. Because look, I mean, maybe it is if we call it like this. Your government's using it, the military's using it, the banking system is using it, but somehow what? It's supposed to be for criminals?
Exactly.
Well, what are they? I mean, but really, this technology is ours. We invented it in World War II, most of it.
Okay. So
but yeah, that's more what's coming. I mean, the economy doesn't exist. You have economic situations where you live, and take advantage of them, and realize that the use of debt is a very good tool in acquiring assets.
So your biggest job, or what you do for people, is to support them with their financial goals in changing and changing their whole how they look at money from
to get them focused.
Yeah.
People call me with credit card debt, and that they're entertaining the idea of filing bankruptcy or doing a payment plan. And so I explain about everything, and they realize, okay, so the best use of my money is to not pay, and then take the money I would use to pay my credit card bills. And the reason why I don't pay my credit card bills is because if I pay, I'm not being able to use my credit card. That's the situation. If you're able to pay it off quickly, I always tell them paid off, But if you're at that point where you can't, don't exhaust your savings. Don't borrow from your friends to pay off your credit card bills. It's not going to help your credit. Forget your credit. Don't make your decision based on your credit. Make your decision based on your use of cash. Then take that cash and go figure out how to buy some assets. And you don't need to risk everything to do that. You could take $1,000 and go buy something that actually produces money. In fact, for $1,000, you can make your own thing that makes money.
Yeah, so somebody was asking
Really
about the VPNs, because you were talking about the dark web, and then she said, "What about VPNs?"
Well, VPNs are a nice way to get. I guess you can get anonymous access if you do it right. Here's what my word of caution on VPNs, though. VPNs, some of them, they're really good. Just realize that they have a brand. It's a recognized brand. I mean, it's the nature of any company to have a recognized brand and sell lots of the things it's selling, right, to many, many people. So you may be a target. That brand may be a target by whoever wants to try to pierce the service it's providing, VPN, privacy, right? So what I would suggest to you, if you really want privacy, is to have someone who can write code. You can find these people on Fiverr.com. You can go to GitHub.com. Get someone to write you a VPN code. You would know this as an app, all right? Write the program, install it on a server that you can have it on. I'm not going to tell you how to do that, but you write the code, install it on a server, and then use that VPN as your own VPN. Have a custom written VPN. If you really want privacy, that's the best way to do it. That is the least vulnerable VPN if you really just want that.
So these regular VPNs, because I have a VPN now and I'm looking at it, and I actually use it on a totally different computer. I don't use it on my main computer.
It's pretty good. Just realize that it could be compromised if it's been around a while.
How do you know if it's compromised? What is some? You don't know. Yeah.
I'm not technical. I may sound technical, but I'm really not. So I just know the very basics on it. But I would just have a VPN written and have it hosted on a server. You got to pay for that. But if you really want privacy, that's what you do. If you really want another aspect, another way to do it is to use the dark web. Go on there and get yourself an email address, and it's like ham radio. It's like that culture right now. People that use ham radio, it's hard to find those people, but they're out there. They're by the thousands. So people that use the dark web, yeah, and also cryptos. It's a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're going to use Monero. But that's going to help us.
What Bitcoin would you suggest? Because there's a lot out there, like Ethereum and Bitcoin and.
Okay, I would use the most convenient one unless you have some specific use. Like Ethereum has a really good application. Ethereum has a lot of good features that Bitcoin doesn't have. Bitcoin Cash has different features. So pick a coin that's going to serve what needs you have. But even privacy, for example, you can have a lot of privacy in your use of money using just Bitcoin. You don't need Monero.
Okay, so and then there's these things that I've been introduced to that stores can use, like this thing called Beep, and I guess a lot of stores in the Philippines are using it right now to actually go use the blockchain to be able to buy their wares in their store, because I know Bitcoin is too slow to do that, but there's other software that can do that. So, but then
that's pretty clever.
Yeah, so that's one way that people can get around the CBDCs, I would think.
Possibly, and let's call that a barter club. That would be one way to get around it, is a barter club. So in a barter club, you take your evil currency, you put it into the club, and they have a trading board, let's just say, and while you're in that club, you have their unit of currency. Maybe it's coupons or whatever they call it, and then you do your thing, and then you leave that club at some point. That's a barter club. So some of those could be private. The IRS has rules on barter exchanges so that they can be taxed, but that can be legally avoided if you understand what you're doing. But yeah, that's another thing I like about in 2011, I was looking at creating my own barter exchange with its own currency and putting all the features together. And I came across Bitcoin. And when I studied it, I realized I don't have to do that anymore. I just have to start using Bitcoin, because really that's what it is.
Oh my gosh.
It's a barter exchange currency.
Mm-hmm. So you recommend then, because one thing that people are talking about is that, well, one thing I've heard is that Bitcoin is going to be, once the CBDCs come into place, and this, I could be totally wrong about this. This is just something that I was exploring, that Bitcoin and all of the other coins are going to be not allowed to use, but they can't do that. That is possible?
It's very difficult to stop that. I think that would be part of the game, yeah. But again, it's just like cryptography itself. Do you realize cryptography is in the private domain, that we're even talking about it now? Because while it is a military munition, Bill Clinton took it off of the munitions list. Well, not off, but he let it be in the private domain in 92. So you know why they did that? So the U.S. military was trying to prevent cryptography from being used in the commercial sector for private citizens. They were trying to prevent it, and they couldn't. What does that tell you? We have it. We're just not using it effectively. I mean, imagine, this is a great example, I think. If you look at the American Revolution and see what those guys had to do, right? So the Redcoats had to sail for 3 months across the Atlantic. And so they got here with probably limited provisions, and they were exhausted, and they still were very formidable to interfere with the colonies.
Yeah.
Imagine, so the colonies really had to scramble around. I mean, these were farmers they were trying to fight them, so they had to fight guerrilla warfare. But imagine if the colonies, just themselves, not the crown, but just the colonies, had email.
Oh, yeah.
That would have totally changed, right, the American Revolution and their effectiveness. But yet we have all this technology, way more technology, and we're just wasting it. in some sense, I believe we deserve to get our butts kicked, because all we're doing is we're tuning on the news every day, and we're lamenting over all the new things that are going on, and we're just going, wow, well, this is bad, that's bad, that's bad. You're not doing your own thing. Go do your own thing. Go have fun and go buy some assets, team up with some friends, and go do that. Go team up with one person and get your talents together and go find a real estate agent and go find a piece of real estate, a house that's distressed, okay, and buy it. You can spend all year doing that.
That's true. That's very true. There's lots of that around here for sure.
Just buy one.
But you were talking about
yeah.
you were talking about an asset for $1,000 that you could get that could start making you money right away. What was that?
Well, you could take $1,000 and just set up a website that sells a product that you don't even have.
Yeah, that's true.
I did that with $50. I mean, the operating system I was telling you about, it cost me $50, just a one-time fee of $50, and it was only because I didn't know how to install the software myself. I had to hire some guy, paid him $50, and once I installed it, I sold it for like $200 each, made $50,000.
Oh my God!
A lot of people got on the dark web. Yeah,
that works.
It's like, yeah, that wasn't $1,000 a year. That was $50. I didn't even have to spend that. I just didn't feel like figuring it out myself, But yeah, for $1,000, you can do miracles. My dad had a friend. They used to sit and drink coffee every morning at Harley Davidson. Old guys wasting their time. He would sit there on his phone. This old guy, 68 years old, on his phone. This was 10 years ago. He would be on his phone searching for on Auto Trader cars for sale, and he would call up the owner and he would lowball him. This is rude. It's obnoxious, but he would just do it. And the people would say a lot of times, heck no, and just hang up on him and stuff. And he would make a list. And he would see in the magazine, it's still there. It's still for sale. And he'd call him back and say, did you change your mind yet? He would never even offer more. He would just wait until they just took his lowball insulting offer. And he would buy the car and he would flip it. He wouldn't even take the title. He would just pass the title on. And this guy was making like another $5,000 or $6,000 a month while they were talking. He was talking to my dad, drinking coffee. And finally, the reason why I know is because my dad asked him, what are you doing over there? He goes, I make about $6,000 a month.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. No one taught him how to do that. There's a guy on YouTube, someone just showed me yesterday. He's teaching people how to go find houses that qualify for Section 8 funding. And it's a very low risk thing. It's a very cheap way for $8,000 or $10,000. You can buy a house that the government will pay the rent to have someone live there. There's no excuse.
Oh, wow. That's super. That's amazing.
I do not have conversations with my partners and my friends about the economy. We could care less. We're talking about how to make money, how to brand something, fun things. I could care less about it. I don't care what the price of gas is. I don't even shop. I don't have coupons. It's not that I waste money. It's that I'm not concerned with little things like that. I'm concerned with an asset that I'm going to buy that might take me 4 months to figure out how to get it. How am I going to do that? Because once I spend my time on that, then I'm done and I have an asset or a cash flow or something or a brand, or a joint venture contract, whatever it is. You don't always have to buy something to make money. You can just joint venture with people.
There's a lot of ways, and there's somebody who's just asked a question. Can LLCs hold life insurance policies for cash value, leveraging? Wonder how that dynamic would work.
Yeah, they can own anything that a person can own. An LLC is a person, but I mean, an LLC can own a life policy. There's a few reasons why you may want to do that, but sure, you can do that.
Okay, what are some reasons why you'd want to do that?
Okay, if the life policy, let's say it's a whole life policy, just a quick example, that you can borrow against, and it's going to have interest income. It's going to make some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it might have a tax liability. Well, if I own the policy, I would have the tax liability. I would get the 1099. So if my LLC owns it, I get a different tax treatment. That would be one reason to do it that way. Another reason might be you want the ownership of the life policy to be outside of your estate for some reason. Maybe you don't want your estate to have any property. Because your insured is different. Your insured, right, is different than your owner of the policy.
That would be a good reason to do that, you guys. And so again, just a reminder, you guys, we have the chat open for John. And somebody said epic Ferio, I don't know what that is. Monero, all privacy coins, and Mike Adams likes Monero, a privacy coin.
Yeah.
What is a coin that you usually
I like
invest
Bitcoin.
in?
I like something simple, something that I can use a wallet on my computer. I don't like to be technical. I don't use my phone for it. I use my desktop. So I'll use like a Atomic Wallet for trading. And I don't trade, by the way. I got out of cryptos. I made a bunch of money in cryptos. I got into real estate with it.
Okay, so you're not in cryptos at all right now?
Not at all.
And you said earlier that the cryptos is probably going to go bye-bye because of the CBDCs. Is that a possibility?
There may be some more restrictions that are making it very difficult right now to use cryptos, but I think they'll be around for a long time. I think people will still be able to use them. I don't have a problem with them. I like them. It's just that I felt like it was time to reallocate. Just like with precious metals, I just sold quite a bit of precious metals as well. I'm out of precious metals mostly, and I got into some real estate, and now I got to develop that.
So the thing with precious metals, you're actually just getting out of the U.S. dollar, because precious metals is a way to hold that value. Because what I'm seeing and what I've been told for quite a while now, everybody's saying the dollar is going to turn to like
it is
nothing.
Yeah, it is, of course. So use it like rich people. How do rich people use the dollar? They borrow it. They borrow their dollar to buy assets. That's how you should be using dollars. Before you buy a house, you should be buying an asset. Go buy a house that you rent to somebody, then buy a house yourself. Buy the apartment complex. Buy part of it. Buy a quadruplex. Go in with a friend. Buy an asset before you buy. I talked to a massage therapist, and of course, she's going to tell me all this stuff, right? She's got a captive audience, right? So she starts talking about how she's trying to save money to buy a house, and I said, well, why don't you just buy an asset first? Why don't you buy a house and rent it to somebody, then buy your house? She couldn't fathom that.
Well, that's a different paradigm.
She said, I don't have enough money to buy an asset. I said, well, you don't have enough money to buy a liability. If you don't have enough money to buy an asset, how the heck can you buy a liability? It's worse. Your net worth goes down as soon as you buy a house.
That's true. So you're hearing that, you guys, right now. It's all about it's setting yourself up. It's looking at your financials in a different way, a different paradigm, versus because this country is a debt-based country. And that's what they want us to do. They want people in debt, constantly working on trying to pay their bills. And what John's talking about is setting yourself up with assets. And so you're actually getting paid, and then, get that house that you want.
Here's a nice gift you can give your children. If they want to go to college, which I told my children, don't go to college, go learn something. Maybe be an apprentice. Maybe if you have to go to college to take the course or get a certification, go do that. But don't go there thinking you're going to change your life and get a better life because you have a 4-year degree. I say travel.
That's true.
Travel. Use your phone. Run a business with your phone and travel. You'll learn way more faster. So here's a nice gift. Instead of a car, a liability for your graduating child. What about a corporation that you spend a few years building up its credit score? So the corporation has a nice little balance sheet. Maybe it has a $1,500 balance sheet. $1,500. That's nothing. Okay. But a balance sheet that can get respect from a business broker that you tell them you want to buy some sort of asset in your neighborhood. Maybe it's going to be a storage complex, right? Storage facility for people that have too much junk and they won't fit in their garage anymore. Mm-hmm. They're out of garage space, right? That's big here in Florida. I don't know if it's in every area like that, but here's a local economy. There is no national economy here in Orlando. There's storage spaces everywhere. There's car washes everywhere too, which is kind of crazy. Anyways, if you had a corporation with a Dun & Bradstreet score, with a credit rating, and a balance sheet, that is way more valuable than a car, in my opinion. Because if I want the car, what I'm going to do is use my company to go buy an asset. And then when that's set up, maybe it takes 6 months, I'll use that asset to pay for the car. It's free.
That is a totally different way to look at money, everybody. This is a complete paradigm shift. And this is perfect because this is about freedom. And my channel is about freedom, hope, learning and knowing that we're always taken care of, and this is a really good way to be always taken care of. So,
What about
John, I love it.
what about neighbors that they have HOAs, okay? And
Mhm.
the HOA acts like the police, okay? What if you got control of the HOA, you kind of worked it out with your neighbors, and people agree, okay, we're all going to always buy soap. We're always going to always buy aluminum foil, all these staples, right? So you get together with your HOA and you form co-op, so to speak. Not really, but kind of like a buying organization. And you buy in groups, the whole group, you buy, negotiate really good pricing for all these products that you're going to use anyways. You're going to go to the local and you have it sent over. And okay, so fine, I have to store 10 boxes of something instead of two. Fine. So I figure that out, right? So now I can get laundry soap and all this stuff, and the whole neighborhood gets it, and they get a smoking deal because it's everybody buying stuff and they're getting it wholesale. Why? Because they can guarantee, just like Costco, they can guarantee so many people are going to buy a thing. But
That
nobody
is
works together
brilliant.
like that. Now, imagine if you put this together
Mhm.
and everybody's having a good time and they reduce the money they're spending on the stuff they're going to buy anyways, right? Would they care that you took a little bit off the top
No, not if
for
they're
your
saving
troubles?
already hundreds of bucks. Not at all.
And once you figure that out, I mean, maybe you're a college kid, right? You figure that out with you and your friend, and you figure that out, and then you realize, well, heck, we could do something like that and make a lot more money. It's just another thing. It's just right in front of us, but nobody's doing it. We have a lot of we have so many people that we can work with. We're just not working together. We're all trying to do stuff alone, and that's the thing about the school system. They make you take your test alone. When you go to MIT, you don't take a test alone.
Oh, I didn't know
No
this.
way. You don't solve problems alone. You don't solve engineering problems alone.
That's
Never.
true.
Yeah. So why are we teaching our kids to answer questions alone and study alone and all that? I mean, you have study groups and all that, but the implication is that you're testing alone. You show up and you can't talk to anybody. I
Yeah.
have my children teach each other algebra.
Wow.
Yeah. They work together. Yeah.
So this is again, this is a different paradigm. And this is what we need. This is what is coming for us people is if we stand together.
Yeah.
One of my websites is standingtogetherhawaii.com to support Lahaina and Maui. And and so if you're watching this, it's like taking a look, especially because this is the end of the year, so the beginning of the year is coming. And it's like looking at your assets and saying, what's a small thing that you can do just to start moving in this direction that actually brings you more income versus versus just spending your money on all the bills that keep piling up on.
Go look around in your neighborhood at the vacancies in the strip malls, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it's high. It's a high risk, okay, to acquire some of those. But start getting to the network of people that are property managers and the real estate agents for all these types of businesses. Start talking to these people without even a plan. Just maybe spend a few hours a week interacting with these people. Maybe take some people out to lunch. Everybody likes a free lunch once in a while, but you can get so much information, and they know you. Then they have your name and stuff,
Mhm.
and maybe you're a nobody. You don't have any money or anything, but you're knowing who's in town. You just know who's in town, and I'll guarantee you this will open up so many opportunities. You'll be invited to parties. You'll be able to talk to people that are the people doing stuff in your town. They're doing stuff in your town that you're seeing it when you're driving by. You don't even know who's behind that project.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
if you don't know anything else, just do that.
So what is so tell everybody how they can contact you and how do you help people?
Well, aceofcoins.com is my course site. I have a video membership, but that's going to be linked to aceofcoins.com. On that site, you can schedule a time with me. I love to talk to people. You can do a one-on-one with me. There's a calendar. Just book a time, and whatever you're working on that's similar to what we're talking about. If it has to do with taxes or financial risk or business or something of that nature, let me know. If you have more questions about FinCEN, I allocate 25 minutes, and sometimes if I don't have a call afterwards, we go a bit more than that. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, and then we have let's see, we just morphed in from our 7 o'clock call on Thursday evening to this call. So our 7 o'clock ended at 8. And that one I do every Thursday. I announce that on my Telegram group, which is called Ace of Coins. We just announce that all the time for the new people.
Right.
So yeah, we talk about these.
I love it. I love it. I don't have any more questions on the YouTube live, but Ace of Coins, you guys, to reach John and get a one-on-one with him. Thank you so much, John. You're giving us hope. And what I also loved about what you shared is that you're focusing on what, like, people should focus on what they can do, and not just the fear of the propaganda of everything that the media is saying, and even YouTube. A lot of YouTube. Oh, this is I always see this one friend of mine sends me this guy, and all he's going, it's happening today. It's warning, and I'm just like, do not send me this anymore.
Ignore it.
Yes,
Ignore it.
yes. So I really love
life.
that. Exactly, and go have fun, which is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going dancing. So,
right.
So I love that. But what I love too is that you're helping people with a whole new paradigm about the IRS, understanding our freedoms, understanding our rights, understanding that we don't have to be tricked and manipulated into paying something that isn't even helping the people. They're actually, that's a whole other story about where that money is going. But it's a whole different paradigm shift about money and assets and debt. And I just really appreciate you for that big time.
Well, thanks for having me on. I always look forward to these calls. Awesome. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Let's do a quick prayer. Great source, infinite intelligence of all things. Wow, this is such a paradigm shift for not just this call, but just life. And I'm just so grateful for the earth and the vegetables that are germinating in the soil right now, that they're in the darkness, that they have pressure on them, and they still know how to grow to the light. And each one of us, each person that's hearing the sound of my voice, they know what is theirs to do, what is their kuleana, as we call it in Hawaii, what is theirs to do right now in this moment. And this is a new year coming. And we can all have a paradigm shift right now that brings in more joy and more freedom and more abundance for each one of us, that then each one of us is stronger for it and is more secure and able to give to society and come together and unify together, standing in truth, standing in freedom, and standing in the knowingness that we can make this world a better place together. And we just are so grateful for John and his journey and his family. We send them so much abundance and peace and inner strength at this time. And we know that this planet is free. And this frequency that we are holding right now in this present moment goes out to the entire planet and touches anybody who is feeling alone, who is in fear, that they have a spark of hope right now in their hearts. And that spark of hope grows into something beautiful in their bodies that then gives them inner strength, knowing that they matter in the world and that they are taken care of. And we know that this world is becoming a better place. And so it is. Mahalo so much, John, for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right. Aloha, everyone.
Happy New Year.
And be sure to click on Ace of Coins in the description. Much love and aloha.